We're calling the Newburgh School District Board of Directors for agenda for June 24th, 2025 to order, and we'll start with the flag salute by Director Wolfer.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We always like to point out the grants or donations, but we have $604,000 for the ODE Summer Learning Grant, and PGE electric bus is $728,000. That's exciting. Well, I don't know that that's on the consent agenda. It's not on the consent.
Yeah.
I was just a little excited. Sorry.
It's the board minute.
Just a minute.
It says it, with it was. There's no personnel recommendations. Almost like it's some.
Good.
Yep.
I move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any further questions? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so we've got the grants. We have Jillian and Nate are going to talk about those. So why don't you guys take it away?
So I'm happy to share that Newburgh was selected after the ODE did their first round process of offering eligible school districts grant funds. We were in the second round for those districts that turned down funds. So we were able to receive our full allocation from ODE of $604,000. In addition to that, the WESD through pass-through dollars gave us their summer grant allocation as well. That one was $80,000. So these are going to braid together with our federal program, Summer School. So to get to the really fun part, the students experience, the funds will be supporting high school, summer school, and then also our elementary and federal program summer school. That'll be at Edwards. So the high school one is happening last week and the remainder of this week, finishing up there. And then our next summer school will be starting in July over at Edwards, and that serves preschool through 12th grade. And then in August, we will have middle school opportunities as well. So we're running some offshoot programs for intervention at our both Mountain View Middle School and Chehalem Valley Middle School. They'll be offering math and reading intervention to students, as well as doing a 6th grade rising for transitions at the end of the summer with kind of their culminating event of their intervention program. And then in addition to that, Ewing Young is also offering interventions for our rural families out there in the months of July and August. So we've got a lot of summer programming happening. Right now, it looks like we're set to serve between 400 and 500 students. So that's really exciting. We haven't served that large of a population of students since before COVID. So I'm really excited to share that with you. And then some of the other funds that the summer grants are going to is curriculum to support summer learning. We're also able to refresh some of our technology. So we'll be getting some new Chromebooks and iPads for students that are in summer school as well.
It's exciting.
Yeah, I just wanted to give Jillian some props here because we got this notice with like 2 weeks left in school when they said, hey, we actually do have money. And so she's been working really hard to try and make good use. We didn't want to let this opportunity go by and not fully utilize it. So I appreciate, and there's lots of other folks too, but I really appreciate Jillian kind of stepping up and making good use of this money as best we can. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Since we're on the topic of summer school, or opportunities for the summer, I don't want to call it summer school. Back in the day, that used to be a bad connotation. So, excuse me. Just from my personal knowledge of how it's been ran in the past, basically, I guess, since post-COVID. Is the reason why we're expanding it all is just because of fun? Because that's just in past, it seems like we've had like one session for a few weeks, but it was all grades, like K through 12 in one school. Is there, can you explain why the differences and locations and all that? So.
Sure. So some of it is due to the increase in funds that we're receiving. In the past, the majority of our funding was all through federal programs. So students that qualified for Title I services, our students that are at Edwards and Joanne Austin were eligible based on assessment scores. We also serve students acquiring language and our migrant students. And so the predominant funding that we had was actually for our migrant program. And that's one of the reasons why the ESD chose us to receive their summer funds, because we have a really well-established summer program that produces results in student achievement. In those programs, year over year for like at least since COVID, because we changed how we were monitoring student progress and added in like pre and post assessment data. Our students have been making an average of 5 to 7% gains from the start of the summer to the end of summer. So being able to have a program that actually has proven results. And then because we braid our funds together already, knowing the parameters around that was one of the additional reasons why we were selected. So that kind of continues to be the main program that we built out a little bit more. So then we brought in some early literacy funds and then some summer learning funds that have a little bit less restriction on it in terms of who can be eligible for use of those funds. So that built the summer program at Edwards specifically, which is that preschool through 12th grade program, to a larger program. We were also able to shift some of our high school success funds. In the past, high school success was paying for our high school summer school. And so this year we're going to use those summer learning funds instead of accessing the high school success to support the high school staffing. And then we also had job postings for intervention specialists that were in district positions that we hired for to fill for reading and math interventions. And so we have like kind of our rural students tend not to, we kind of tried to break up the locations of where people were at. So we wanted to have a rural service and we wanted to have an in-town service. And so that's kind of why Edwards and Ewing Young are the locations. And then Mountain View and CV both had opportunity to offer support. And both schools have a current reading intervention in place that just was established here in the last couple of years. And so they were both interested in extending their summer learning programs. And so that is kind of why it went to the 2 middle schools as well. And that I believe will also include outgoing 8th graders. So our incoming 9th graders will get that additional support too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Nate? Yeah.
Thank you. I like, who's Mike? So in partnership with PGE and the state of Oregon, the proceeds from an EV tax, where First Student and the district have received a grant from PGE for $728,000, and those funds are to go towards replacing 3 buses in our fleet with electric buses and a charging station at the First Student center over in the industrial part over there. So it's exciting that we get to partner with them. They get the buses. We're pretty much passing through the money once we get proof of their purchase. But it's a great partnership that we get to have some vehicles out there that don't have emissions. See, really boring.
So we'll have, just to clarify, you said we'll have 3 of these electric buses?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And the buses will be ultimately owned by us or First
It
Student?
will be for students. Yeah. Because we contract with them for those services.
Do we anticipate seeing any long-term reduction in cost for us in terms of fueling and whatnot?
Probably not with this, but through a separate partnership is a different one. But
Cool.
Dave negotiated something that's going to help us on fuel costs too.
Yeah. I'm just so proud of myself. I think, I mean, what I've seen kind of in electric car charging is there is some significant costs. We'll have to see that through the contract with them So that's a different conversation, I think, is kind of where Nate's going with that. There were some good questions asked at the budget meeting around the cost of our transportation. We're still chasing that down and also looking to get a meeting with them to try and dig into, again, with the bus debacle of several years ago, we're not unhappy with First Student, but we are looking at all of our costs and what we have some questions. So some of the things that came up in the budget meeting got us looking deeper. So that's still all work that we're doing right now.
Do we expect that these buses are going to be in use this next school year?
So my experience in the last couple years is that these have long lead times. It could be changing now, but when in my former district, it took 1.5 years for the first one and over 2 years for the ones after that. However, we are pushing on First Student to get these ordered as soon as possible. PG would like us to have them in possession by September 30th. There are extensions that are available, but that's what they're asking us to do. So, and my last email with them last week, they said, yep, they're on it. So we'll see what happens.
Thank you.
Okay. On to the financial report. So as the cover sheet says, estimated revenues were pretty much on target where we were thinking, 57 million, little higher than that. And our expenditures, and this is as of May 31st, are projected at 56.3. So we're just a little above $1 million for any fund balance looking at this year. Again, this is as of May. We have some more changes that we've plugged in and wedged in June. So I was a couple weeks ago projecting to be a little over 1.1 million with some of the changes we've had that are going to take effect in the June timeframe. We're probably going to be closer to 1.5 at the end of the year, which is a great number for us. Very happy to see that. The legislature did approve the state school fund budget, so we got that. We don't have integrated guidance, which is our student investment account and high school success and early intervention. Yeah. And early literacy. Those haven't been approved or projected yet from ODE, so we're not exactly sure where those are going to land. I think it's probably going to be at the end of session when they actually identify that. That's a separate revenue for us.
What I'm hearing on the back channel right now is that the SIA will be, they're going to backfill it with some reserve funds, so it'll be down slightly. Early literacy may be down considerably. High school success, I think, will be a little bit up from where it is this year, is kind of what we're hearing. That's all a guess until the gavel comes down, but that's kind of what we're hearing. Is there will be work for us to do once we actually get those numbers of trying to work with those budgets.
Yeah. And so I'm going to note too that some of those changes. So if I was looking at these reports from your perspective, I would be looking for the numbers in brackets on the expenditures. And so I'm just going to point them out for you. On the second page, on the 2000 level that shows 196 that we're looking to be over, that's going to change. So that won't be there at the end of the year. And then again, and the special revenues funds as well. These are going to be fixed in June, so you won't see those negatives on the budget there. The other thing, if nobody else has caught it, is if you notice on the last page, there's a breakdown of by object and then by a function. Can anybody tell me what's off there? Same numbers, two different ways. It's $1 off. So I was going to give someone $1 if they caught it, but it's just the rounding because of the way those expenses are divided, and I didn't catch it. Usually I would put 52 cents in there and fix one of the numbers, but I missed it. I figured $1 between us would be okay, but anyway, there you go. So yeah, so and then the June 30th, we won't have until likely closer to when the audit is completed, because the auditors come through and they verify all of our transactions. They test our processes and just make sure that everything's in the right spot. And so between now and September, pretty much we're going to be in these numbers and just they will be changing. And then the other thing is in our annual budget, we have a practice of accruing July and August property taxes into the previous year. And so we won't have those revenues until August as well. So you will see the June 30th financials, September, October timeframe, depending on how the audit goes. So this will be the last formal update for finances, but if we have a report to send out, we'll send it out if anything changes. Right. It's the Nate show today. Sheesh.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Preemptive.
No. So this is step 2 of 3 on our CET conversation, construction excise tax. Just this is pretty much kind of what you guys saw last time in the summary here, just about how we have one, and then what the maximum rate is at the bottom. So that's what the most is. We have been at the original rate since we started this in 2007-8. And so what on the third page of that one, I just put a call out to my friends in finance and other districts to see what they were levying. And so you can just see that we're one of a couple school districts that are still just at the dollar level. And I put verifying rates because I haven't heard back from Dundee or Washington County on what it's the same, but I just wanted to make sure they had the same numbers that we have for the dollar and the 50 cents on that. And so, and then every year, the Department of Revenue puts out a note to districts that just identifies what the index rate is based on that legislation, Senate Bill 1036, to say what the maximum you can do for that year is. And so in a future meeting, I'm recommending that we come with an adjustment to this rate so that we can bring in more revenue. And then again, the people, this is a tax on development. I'm going to say this, but it's not, I don't mean to sound like pompous or anything, but the people that are coming to pay this rate have assets in mind that they're using towards this. It's not going out to the general public to pay on the front end. So it's not a tax on the people per se. It's just on new development.
And then Nate, you would be recommending that in the next board meeting that I think probably August, because July 1, it won't make sense. It's only a week away, but in August board meeting, you would recommend 1.67, or you would say whatever the maximum rate is that the county achieves. What's kind of where are you headed with your?
Yeah, I think that my opinion is that this, since we have a system in place where we can adopt going to this index rate, that we should do that and just maintain following that index rate as opposed to having periodic updates, because we can't go back and get revenue that specifically for our capital needs retroactively. So it's only from that point. So, I mean, over years, we've lost a lot of revenue by not using the index rate. So I think that not that we deserve it, but that it's a very big help to our system.
You mentioned verifying rates from Dundee and Washington County. So is this CET for the boundary of our district? Can it vary then by another municipality within our district?
It shouldn't, but it could. I mean, just like we're a government organization, when there's change in organization, sometimes things get messed up. So, and that's what I wanted to verify, is because we have the city of Dundee, Washington County, Clackamas County, Yamhill County, city of Newburgh. So there's lots of areas where things could be off, or someone might have information that I don't have. So in fact, the city of Newburgh, when they got back to me, they sent our original resolution, which I don't have a record of. And so I'm like, great, now I've got it. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Good question. Thank you.
Oh, and is it possible at our next meeting or whenever, it's not really, doesn't change what we're doing here, but could we get some information eventually on how much we have in
We
our
pro-
current fund?
Yeah, we project we'll have for next year about 2.3 million in our current fund.
Thank you.
Do we have any projections on what new developments are coming in that would,
Yeah, so I met with spacing, I think, the city manager.
Will.
Mhm. And he gave me a packet of information and contact in their planning department that I'm going to come follow up on in the future to find out where he thinks the development is. We talked about, I asked if they had any information about where kids were, and he suggested we put out a survey to find out that information. Yeah, so I'll go through that information that he sent. He gave me that packet, and then we're going to start some conversations with their planning and development department around this and some other things that we can have some interconnection, some work together on stuff.
I think it'd be nice to just know, if we were to leave it and if we were to increase it, what that difference would be for our.
Yeah, I don't know, and this is me speaking, I don't know, I mean, if I was to go back and tell you about the 2006 transportation plan and that what the Austins were going to do over off of Mountain View, like we should have a huge golf course and condos and houses
Sure.
screaming, and so we know what's in place on the Crestview side and then by Austin and the small things, but I don't know if too far out what we can really project on that. So it would really be shooting in the dark a little bit.
And just from your knowledge, because Joanne Austin's already in development, that was under the old rate or the current
Correct.
rate, right?
Yep. Yeah, they'll change the rates, whatever
Whatever's
date you guys put
permitted.
the resolution in, that's gonna be the date that they apply that rate. So we'll have a resolution on that one.
And so does this rate, once we, establish it, then it goes to city planning and they facilitate
Yep.
this on our behalf?
The city and county. So it'll be Dundee, City of Newburgh,
Right.
the 3 counties.
Wow.
And just to confirm, you just said that is at the time of permitting.
Yeah, it'll be when they submit their system development charges. I think it's in with that part.
So are there any other entities that levy this tax as well? Like would CPRD have their own CET rate, or is it just city, county? school
Yeah,
district?
Aubrey mentioned something that I wasn't aware of that the city had done. It was a temporary
Yeah.
CET. But I'm not aware of any others other than that one that she mentioned.
I don't know if CPRD does, but I'd be interested. I just think it's so fascinating because when the city had a CET tax, and then when they were starting to sunset it, like it was just such a huge conversation about how we attract builders to our towns and counties and is this something, we don't want to tax them too much because we want them to come to develop, but at the same time, we need to, receive these revenues. So it's fascinating that we actually have some power in this. But I think, if we're able to accept these funds from people, and like Nate said, these are by and large developers that have the funding available to do this. So,
And there are residential too. Garages are accepted. And then on the commercial side, there's a $25,000 cap on it. So it's 50 cents per square foot, but to the max of 25,000. Actually, is that it? That's index 2, so it will go up to 41,800.
And like Nate presented last time, the reason that they're levying these funds is really around the expansion and the challenge that creates for the school district. And so again, the way we use these funds is around dealing with those kinds of expansion elements. So it's furniture for classrooms. It's could be long-term capital improvements around schools and such. So it's always, we can't just spend this on anything. It's meant for a very specific purpose.
I know last time we discussed this, and then combination today, you said in August, most likely we'll see the recommendation to accept the new rates, whatever we decide. But then you mentioned last time about coming with us kind of a list of things to kind of bucket or use this funds for. Is that going to be in August, or is that going to be later?
It's probably going to, just looking at my to-do list, it's probably coming later.
Sure, that's fine.
I'm not sure I'm going to get to that right away.
Okay.
Mostly I just wanted folks thinking about, well, what would be some of the uses that we want to kind of point this at?
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for reaching out to all these different districts. This was
Yeah.
very helpful and interesting to see.
Are we good on construction excise tax rates? So then I'm going to move on to committee assignment. We're going to be doing this in June, but this, excuse me, July. But Dave and I were meeting and we were sort of talking about school district assignments and the committee roster, which so this is my handwriting that's on this. We were just writing notes. So this is just to aid us to think about what are the current committees that we have, which is the policy. Well, we have the Finance Advisory Board, the Policy Committee, Personnel Committee. Personnel Committee usually has been made up of the chair and the vice chair, and then we added Nancy as the past chair. And then the Facilities Committee was James and Jeremy. And so I think it'll be, you know, I want people to serve on. Okay, so I will not, so it all depends on who's the chair and how it all goes. But how we did it last year is basically what committees are you interested in being on, want to honor that. So this is just something to think about for the June meeting after elections have been done. Excuse me, July meeting, thank you. And then the board member school assignments, Andy and I were having a conversation about that and I couldn't remember who was assigned where. So this was just a reminder, you know, Nancy doesn't have a school in her district, so she was interested in Mountain View and Catalyst, and we're all basically support for the high school. So now your assignment is basically in your zone. That doesn't mean you wouldn't have a reason to go visit a school out of that zone and your zone and just, but we really want sort of to be the lead on the zone as to who's, you know, the director from that area. So these are things to be thinking about for the July meeting. I don't know that we have need for other committees, and we've stood them up just as we've needed them, but these seem to have worked well for the last couple of years. So something to think about for our next meeting.
Thanks, Deb. Is there a targeted number of school board members, directors that we're looking for on these committees, or?
Well,
As long as there's not a quorum.
3 or under, yeah.
Okay.
Up to 3, I should say.
Great.
And we are intending to continue the Finance Advisory Board through the next school year?
We kept it open, but I think it depends on, well, the budget seasons went smoother than last year. I think also maybe is determined based on our audit results and see if there's a need for us to bring them back up. Or if there's other requests from the board that wants them to do things.
There was conversation about how other districts have this on all the time. And based on the experience, I think it would be really good to continue it on, just in terms of not trying to start it up when there's somewhat of an emergency. So we have that consistency. It's not starting from fresh. So it would be my suggestion that we keep that regardless of how we want to continue it on. Maybe it has a new look, a new idea, but I do think having those extra eyes from the community outside of budget season is helpful.
Thank you for the reminder of that. So yeah, what Saul said.
I love it.
I've seen it, I would say yes. I've seen it where the board, it's a subcommittee of the board, and the board, they're just doing extra work to make sure that we're, I've also seen them when they have community members and the whole bit. And I think it's pretty open, but I do think there is a purpose for us to continue to be transparent. And as things are going on, to let people know what's happening. It might look, and I think we're open to changes that folks might want to it, but I think it's valuable for us to continue to talk about this. The budget will continue to be a challenge even as we're negotiating with our license group, next year looks to be a very challenging spring as we look at lots of things coming together. So, I mean, the issues around our budget and us being very careful and being transparent is not going away. That will continue to be a big, big challenge for us for at least the next year and a half. Just as we're looking at how the different contracts lead into this. We now know basically how much money is going to come in the second year. We know what the increase in revenue is going to be. And that increase in revenue, I don't think is going to cover utilities, increase in contracts and the rest. So again, we've got continuing. So again, this makes sense to kind of find a way forward of continuing to be transparent about this.
And so with the addition of the strategic planning and the boundaries, would those be separate committees of the board, or are they committees for the district that you?
I would probably just have board membership on those committees.
Okay.
And I would have them be superintendent committees.
Perfect.
I think it'll make it a little bit easier to understand.
So this is just information, to think about for our next meeting.
Can I talk about, I was going to talk about July 1 later, but I think it fits right here, right now.
Okay.
Which is, so tonight's not going to be a long board meeting. Next month, or the July 1st looks to be a longer meeting. It'll mostly be interactive, where you're working with partners, with other board members, you're talking, we're providing feedback. I went through the agenda today with Deb. At the end of it, and this is where I think it's important, and we're going to ask you about, like, what are things that you want on our board agenda moving forward. We've heard the idea about like running some of these meetings out in the buildings that we're representing. Those kinds of ideas, we have a slot in this agenda to get those from you, for us to record those, and then begin to build those into our plan. The working agreements, kind of having you all have a chance to talk a little bit about things that you're looking for as far as board goals. And I have some ideas about my goals and your goals, how they might work together. So, but I'm trying to cut it down right now because it's 2 hours without a doubt. But I'm trying to squeeze it and make it poignant. But it looks like the July 1st, but we're not going to do the I'm probably going to set you in ways to talk. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to set the room up yet, but it's mostly going to be conversation, you providing feedback to us so that we can kind of prepare and get organized for the year. So that's kind of what we have planned for July 1.
And the July 1 meeting will have some of our traditional, so we need to make sure that we've got public comments, set aside in that. And one of the challenges we've always talked about is really having time just to sit and talk to each other. And so Dave's put together some really great opportunities for team building and getting to know each other. And we're going to have a new board, and so I'm excited. I know he's like trying to squeeze it, but 2 hours I think is going to be very well spent for us moving forward for the year.
It looked fun, right?
It looked fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Better than a stick in the eye with so.
I'm just thinking back to our at the school.
If I can interrupt,
Yeah.
we're still recording. We're still going to be in.
Perfect. I can
Probably-
remember all of the
Yeah.
things and what needed to be audio. I
Yeah.
just wanted to throw that out there. Just
Will
assume
be
it will all
audio.
be covered.
Will
Just wanted to make
be
sure.
noticed. It'll be yeah.
It may look a little different though, and I'll call OSBA, but again, part of this is for you to be able for us to have a conversation and to provide feedback. And so I don't know exactly how I'll do the audio, but again, this is a board retreat. there will, I mean, there's a period of time here where we're going to do some board work, some actions. But a lot of this is going to, I mean, we've done retreats for years and years and years. I don't think every retreat needs to have a mic that's going on and off. There's another way for us to record so that people can hear. But I don't know, I'll work through some of that because I really want to create a space where you're able to talk and it isn't so formal.
And I just, it felt like just a thing to say to make sure to not have that happen again.
I
Yeah.
agree. Okay. So that's just committee assignments and something to look forward to in July.
One last question on July 1. It feels like what we should probably do is do the business up front and then go to the retreat part of this so that we can, seat our new members, take care of there's some action items that we need to take care of. I think we do that right at the beginning and then we'll break into the retreat. Is that, yep, I see. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. So the next is the student representative nominations, but Dave, there's no names attached to the,
We didn't want to put it in the.
okay.
I have contacted all the student reps, but I think if you just say them now.
I don't remember. All of
Okay,
them,
I got you.
off the top of my head. So, I thought we did everybody look at all of the data that was attached? Okay. So it was clear, that there were three people that really, sort of rose to the top, and that was Ella, Cole, and Ashlyn. And, it really consistently across the board. And, so Dave reached out to everybody and sort of gave them the heads up. The thing I had asked Dave is could we consider the other students, inviting them to participate in our strategic planning process? And
I talked to all of them and they all gladly accepted to get involved. I mean, again, all of these students did such a wonderful job in this, and there was a very challenging to choose even that. So all of our three other student reps all said, yeah, they would like to get involved. So I will add them to that committee list as we're creating it.
Yeah.
Do they start joining us in July or August?
I think the best way to do this would be for me to meet with them. What I talked to them about is I would meet with them kind of middle of August and do some onboarding, maybe that last meeting right before school begins, that we invite them to that one. If you direct me to do that differently, I can do that. But that's kind of what made sense to me.
Yeah.
Either that or the first one after they get back to school.
Yeah.
And not try to interfere with any family plans.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, whatever really works for them
Yeah.
to participate. Also, Jeremy had reached out and had some thoughts about the process and the planning for next year, which I think, I'd welcome. I think we would all welcome looking at the process and making it stronger. I thought your idea to moving it earlier in the year was a really good one because we just seemed to be scrambling sort of at the end. Yeah.
Well,
So,
and I was going to kind of bring that up too. Is like we don't have to talk about now. It's not on the agenda item, but it's just I did say I contacted Dave and Deb to say I have some initial thoughts of this process from what just happened over the last meeting. How should I share it? They said share it. But then Dave said, well, I think we may need to open this up or create a way for everybody to provide their feedback. So I have not provided additional feedback from last meeting's thing. But I still, in general, I'll just give the highlight. In general, I still don't feel that rubric way is really did not solve what I was trying to hope for. And the way Saul's shaking his head, I don't think it's really a way he was maybe solving for him either. So I'm not saying we go into some planning session now, just when we get to it, maybe have a working session where we talk about that and really iron those out. Or Dave has a way to collect it individually and then bring them to the table where we still have a discussion. So
Yeah, I would agree. I think some of the things we talked about wasn't gonna be solved in time for this year, but I also felt like the rubric wasn't quite right yet. So I think if we had a chance before that time, what I'd also like to see is when maybe we come up with what that rubric will be, and then put that out so the students also know what that's going to be, and just very transparent about, you know, what attendance and what, and then we can decide what that does too, because we got to see some of those things, but there wasn't really a spot in the rubric to like weigh that individually. So I'd like to see that, and then that way the students and public can see what we're doing too before they even apply.
And on this similar note, I think it would be interesting to see if we could get more representation from Catalyst if we knew that there was one spot for sure for Catalyst, assuming that there's enough students. I thought that I think it would be good to have that kind of additional voice that we don't necessarily get. And I hope that the candidate from Catalyst is willing to help out, because I think that she could be a really great voice for
Yeah.
any little thing that we have available.
Well, she was COA.
Yeah.
But, and we could do a priority spot for a Catalyst student.
Yeah.
But if we don't have any Catalyst students, then, you know, fill that in. I think it's a process that's worth looking at, and yeah, it's not perfect. So I think that we have some room for improvement, but I was surprised how many, we had great, 6 kids come step up. So the thing I would like to work on though this year, I would encourage, is how do we better engage the students? And what do we want the students to do? Is there a mission that we have for them? Do we want, the first year that we were on the board, there was a lot of attention to achieve our testing, and the students put effort into that. I don't really feel like we had a general direction for them. Certainly, it was pretty good attendance by them, but that also I'm hoping that Dave will do, a great orientation to understand what really does the school board do, and because it was clear from some of the questions that they didn't know, but that's right. Why would they? Unless they, yeah, so.
So a couple ideas. What if we talked about a way to get them involved in some agenda setting? Because if there's anything that's top of mind, and obviously the chair and vice chair with, superintendent will set the agenda, but that could be an idea too, to just include them, see if there's anything, reach out, and if there's anything that they would like to see on the agenda and talk about. And then I really like this idea of the other applicants being on, a strategic plan and different things. And maybe there's some ways throughout the year that we can find other, not just for them, but just other committees that can be student filled as well, and have the student reps be in charge of maybe getting, filling those committees and things like that for certain things that are going to affect them. And that way we can get, broader voice, rather than, hey, can you go poll your friends, see what they think? It could be, hey, can you get them together, go find, 2 or 3 other kids that want to be on a committee with you about this specific thing, so we can truly get your voice and work through it. And that way, a lot of them spoke with their interviews about this was an opportunity for them to experience leadership in government. And I think that's, committees is another one too, and community engagement, and beyond just, directive, giving them some direction on how to do that, I think would help give them that experience that they're looking for. So I don't know if maybe something like once a quarter, we do something that really gets the opinions of the kids on something and bring them in. So.
Okay, those are some good ideas. So I think we have to vote now, but
Do you want the full names?
full names? Yeah.
Yep. It's Ella St. Cyr, Cole Isaacson, and Ashlyn Sudizar. Hopefully I said that.
Ashlyn Sadazar.
There we go.
I move that the Newburgh Dundee Public Schools Board of Directors approve student representatives Ella St. Cyr, Cole Isaacson, and Ashton Sudazer for the 2025-2026 academic school year.
Second.
Any further questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No, motion carried unanimously. Yay. Nathan, you're back. Back to some exciting stuff.
Ooh. All right, heavy eyelids, no. Okay, so the board also acts as a local contract review board, and that responsibility falls to you from the state of Oregon. They delegate authority from the Department of Justice and Department of Administrative Services under the Secretary of State to approve contracts for our agency. And so the next two items are your role as local contract review board. And the first one is for the HVAC controls maintenance RFP. And this is an RFP that an outside agency comes in to manage the digital controls that control the whole system. And so it takes it's basically an interface between the equipment and then the digital part of it, which takes programming and engineering experience. And so we put out the RFP in May. Was issued on Oregon Buys Procurement Network for 30 days, according to law. And we received one response from HMS Commercial Service. The last time this went out, we received two responses, one from HMS and one from Schneider. And HMS was awarded it the last time, and so they are the incumbent. And then the score, even though they were the only one that responded, we still have to score them according to the RFP criteria. So we had 9 categories: organizational structure and experience, describe qualifications, capabilities and personnel. So basically asking who is going to do the work, their ability to provide the goods and services, or what more specifically, what they're not able to provide, their methodology and approach, environmental sustainability, if they have a workforce diversity policy, of course, the cost, and then they had to supply 3 references. So out of 100 total points in those categories, HMS scored a 98.3 based on the scores of the RFP. And so our recommendation is that we put out the notice of intent to award last Friday. We have a few days left on the protest period. We've received no protests to date. We don't anticipate any. And so we're asking to have that award confirmed for HVAC controls to HMS Commercial Service.
Do we have a price on this? I didn't see that.
Oh, I didn't put it on here. It comes in at about 100,000 a year. And it's depending on how much they actually come. So it depends on what breaks down or what they come in and do. And so since this is for a 5-year period, we did an RFP. And so you're approving for the 5-year award. So it's based on your award is prices included, but not the determiner per se. It's the points.
Do we know what the change in rate was since our last contract with them?
Oh, I did not bring that, but
Okay.
I can do you do an update to the board weekly?
I'm gonna make some phone calls to the board to update them on some other
Okay, I can
things.
put it in an email too.
It would just be nice to know at
Yeah.
some point. Thank you.
Nate, I appreciate the kind of teaching us as you go, right? That we serve as a local contract review board. Who here participates in the scoring of these?
So we typically don't put the names of the actual scores out there,
Okay.
but we did have 3 scores of this. So it was the RFP was issued by Ben Burkhart in our facilities, and then we have 3 independent scorers that, not including him, since he put out the RFP. I was one of the scorers, but yeah, so we had 3 others that looked at this proposal.
Thank you.
I move that the Newburgh Dundee Public Schools Board of Directors award the contract for HVAC controls maintenance to HMS Commercial Services, Inc. as presented.
Second. Any further questions? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
All right. The next one is also an award, however, in a different method of procurement. So good point, Andy, education. So this one is just a flat bid award. So this is one for construction where you come in and we're just asking for price to do the project. So price is the actual and all determiner in this one. And so this was for the floor replacement project at Newburgh High School, which was one of the uses of our remaining bond funds. And so these are the bids that came in from Concerco, Salem Carpet, Branson, and Pure. And then we're recommending that it be awarded to the low price bid of Salem Carpet Installations.
This might be more of a question for Dave. I remember that these are the classrooms in the high school with the carpet that is wavy at best. There was some discussion about just scrapping the carpet altogether and doing just concrete, but it
Oh,
looks like
yeah.
we're going.
That's what this is. So
Okay.
this is removal of the carpet. Then they're gonna grind up the glue
Okay,
and then polish the
Polish.
concrete.
love
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
I'm not a fan of carpets in classrooms.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. That's a good question. Sorry, I missed that part.
Two questions about the cost. I mean, it's a great savings, but do we have references for this company?
We do, and the reason that Salem came in low is because they didn't have work on the schedule, and so they needed the work.
They
And
never, okay.
so that's we inquired on that, like why are they so low? And our owner's rep Emil reached back out to them, got some information. So
So it sounds like they can get going now.
Yep.
Basically, great, okay.
yep, and there will be. I'll tell you, this is from a couple of weeks ago, but they did do some testing on the carpet, and we do have some black glue under there, which means that we'll have some remediation costs that will, aside from this increase, or we already know of a change order coming. Let's put it that way.
Okay,
So,
and then the second question was, I think we pretty much ask this every time when, especially it's on the list of potential projects and how much we have funding for. Do you know what this, I mean, it's a great cost, but do you know what this was versus the targeted,
this is less than what we
Assumption?
budgeted.
okay,
Yeah. However, with the remediation of asbestos, we
It could
will
be.
probably be right about what we budgeted.
do you know what that number is by the top of your head?
We have a rough number, but I don't think I would say it.
No, but like, what was the projected, like, when we were looking at like projects, like we slated X amount for this?
Yeah, when we revised, originally we thought 88,000. We're like, oh yeah, 88,000. But then once Emil looked into, and he actually looked back at Forest Grove, he's working on a project over there. He got us some better square footage costs. And so we're up closer to 180. This is what
Okay.
we were with contingency.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll be a
Okay.
chunk.
Thank you.
When he said black glue, is that what was?
Yeah, so asbestos seems to show up black in mastic and glues. And so that's the first indicator where they want to test it. And so they tested the glue, and they found asbestos. in
Thank
it.
you.
So not a lot.
I just never heard that term. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Does that, for remediation of the asbestos, and I'm assuming closing off a fair bit of access to those spaces, does
Yeah.
that interfere with any of our summer programming?
It will not interfere with programming.
Thank you. Sugar.
Yeah, we won't have, they'll have to seal off the whole area to deal with that. So
Could you go over what the ad one was and why the unit cost isn't on those first two bids?
I gotta remember now. Good point. I'm gonna have to get back to you because I cannot remember what that was.
Okay. I'm just curious if I feel like it was with the carpet conversation, but it was a conversation of something where the base cost is there, but depending on how much they're charging for all the extra things, it could change. Obviously, with the low bid there, I assume the savings will be there regardless, but I'm just curious if that has any impact on overall cost.
Yeah, I'll have to go back. It was an alternate. I remember that addendum 1. But it wasn't, it was like a what if kind of thing, but I'll send you an email on that one too.
Anybody like to do a motion?
I move that the Newburgh Dundee Public Schools Board of Directors award NHS 2025 classroom floor replacement project to Salem Carpet Installations, Inc. as presented.
Second.
Any further questions? For the vote, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Right. Now the one that makes me perspire. So this is, so board policy DBDB. Oh, this is the DBDB. I had the wrong one. This, I was talking about it earlier. Is our policy that identifies that we have a 2% contingency and 5% unappropriated ending fund balance of our general fund. And then based on our proposed, well, the now adopted budget, a 2% contingency would equal almost 1.2 million, and 5% unappropriated would equal almost 3 million. So that would be basically an excerpt of almost 4.2 million that would come out of our adopted budget at this time. So update that number there. So it says as of May 31st, looks like I didn't update that based on the May financials. But our ending fund balance is stated at $1,020,569, which is 1.7% of revenues. And so we're not going to be able to meet this board policy. And so what we're asking for is an exception to this policy for the 25-26 school year. And if, yeah.
And if I remember correctly, when we were going through all the crisis, that was something that was brought up, was that we were going to likely be waiving this for several years to build it back up. So this is not a surprise.
So just to clarify, the number was what was on your budget update, right? The 1,020,569.
Correct.
Yeah.
I move that the Newburgh Dundee Public Schools Board of Directors permit an exception to and waive the requirements of policy DBDB for the 25-26 school year.
Second.
Any further questions?
Yeah, I just, I know that it's an impossible thing to forecast out. It's just, I know that we've had comments from the public of just making sure that we are continuing to move forward with building that back up and making that a real priority. I think from being negative to 1.7, 1.8 is a great start. I don't know how you go about ensuring that we are at a certain point next year, but I want to make sure that we're not kicking this down the road past the time maybe some of us are on the board anymore. And, you know, I don't want that to be a dereliction of duty on what we're doing here, because it is a very important thing for the future of our district. So I felt that should be said.
I would say that it's all we ever think about right now. But I will say that the financial times are not getting easier. And so how we grow the ending fund balance and support inflation, utility increases, it's a challenging environment right now. But that's certainly getting us back to a full school year, getting us back to an ending fund balance where we're not having to worry about every fluctuation in enrollment. Those are our primary, but I also don't see a solution within a year. I mean, there's a lot of challenges out in front of us. I don't know if that helps at all, but.
No, and we didn't expect it in 1 year. I don't expect everything to be built back up. It's just that I'm really hoping that come this time next year, that is, you know, closer to 4% that we're at, and having this conversation, and we can see real progress in that. Not to say that, you know, this isn't a focus, because I know that it is. I think that it's important for the public to know that this isn't just a thing that we're doing now. But I'd like to not as soon as.
I agree.
Okay, any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, real quick, because we may be out of here in an hour. So future agenda items, new board members swearing in, new elections, CET, ODE civil rights training in August, and Rebecca and Jean will be attending that. So July 1 and August 12th. And this is our last board meeting of the year. Hooray, we made it. Meeting adjourned.